My name is Reggie Watts.
And my name's Tommy Smith.
Projects at IRT include radio play, Dutch AV.
Oh, no, I think we keep rolling, right?
I don't know.
Well, we had gotten a grant for the project, and so
Yeah.
we had to use the grant. And so it was sort of like having, we had formulated the idea of the grant, and then we were just like, what do we do? And so it's sort of like we had to spend all this money on a show, and so we decided to just totally like over-resource the show, like take spy glasses and go to Amsterdam and walk around the red light district.
What tends to happen with our pieces, like we have these modules, these ideas that are floating around, and then we get the pressure of like, let's put something together. I mean, it's with all of our pieces. I think these elements from the past and then elements from the present kind of come together under the pressure of a deadline of a performance. And what's interesting about Dutch AV in particular is that we start to notice a geometry within it. It created this great opportunity to merge the video and the image and the real-time people on stage together, and then the cells of action that were created within that piece we started to notice a little bit of geometry in it, later, and then even much later, someone commented saying it's the most truthful show that we've done. Every show that we do is all fiction, for the most part. I mean, it's all just abstract, kind of weird jumbles of ideas and fictional. This show entirely, like the footage from Amsterdam is real, the footage from Montana is real. There's a series of stories that are in it that are all real stories. The music is real time, live. Everything that happens in the show is based off of actual things, or actual things happening in real time. And that was an interesting thing. It was nice to know that we could create a show that had a complete different tonality from other things. Radio play is, essentially it's a ride. It's mostly an experience, a psychedelic kind of travel log of places and concepts that are kind of familiar, but they sometimes never resolve, or they resolve in these really weird, obtuse ways.
They never resolve.
They never resolve. Well, they resolve by ending.
You have linguistic coherence, and then you have musical incoherence. And that's sort of the two poles of the piece. It's been interesting to see some reviewers really grasp for a bigger meaning and a narrative, and it's just not there. The thing you should latch onto with radio play is nothing, and then you'll enjoy it.
Nothing says lovin' like something from the oven.
I love what you do for me.
Where a kid can be a kid.
Taste the rainbow.
Performing feels like a daydream. It feels like you're going in and out of like, and just going into other realities, and you're kind of impartial and you're kind of halfway asleep, so sometimes things don't make sense, but they seem to make sense because you're in that state. And I think that's kind of what it feels like.
I've been thinking for a very long time that the perfect audience was one in complete darkness. But then we sort of tested to see if that was true, kind of like scientists. The thing we learned about radio play from being an IRT was that the panic sometimes can, or the, so people just need to know where they are in space. Because if you're in the darkness for 20 minutes, if you're just looking and you don't see anything but blackness, it can be really, really disorienting.
It's a perfect experiment space. So IoT serves as kind of this area where you can quickly put an idea up without all the massive roadblocks and bureaucracy. But because of the ability to have less bureaucracy and to do it yourself in conjunction with the theater, I think it's much easier to maintain maximum creativity.
Almost every space in New York, if you put something up for an audience to see it, it has to succeed. And I feel like that's a great detriment on the way to making a masterpiece, because a masterpiece is something that has the ability to fail. What we were able to do with Dutch AV and with radio play is freely explore in a way that I felt with Dutch AV, we basically used that template of the week we basically just replicated it for the other productions of it. It was almost exactly the same show. With radio play, we totally changed it. We performed it entirely in the dark just to see if it would fail, you know. And and it was successful on some levels, but we learned from that experience, and it's the reason why it's such a complex show at the PS122 incarnation right now, is because we had this initial run of it at IRT.